Well, hello and welcome to this video, which is an introduction to the VRSI indicator, which is the Volume Relative Strength Indicator, which has been developed to combine the elements of price and volume in much the same way as we do in our volume price analysis. But the reason we've developed it is really to try and create a look inside that relationship from a pressure perspective. And indeed, pressure is a term that you're going to hear a lot about in this video and also in the forthcoming videos, because in essence, this is why we developed the indicator, to really try and reveal in a very graphical and straightforward way the pressure that is associated with a move. Are we seeing a move associated with strong pressure? Are we seeing it associated with rising pressure of volume? Are we seeing that volume pressure diminishing? And really, this is the key. So it is the word pressure that is going to dominate this particular indicator. As I say, it is a combination of price and volume. It looks at the relationship between the two. But it is, and I must stress this at this point, it is very much supportive of our volume price analysis methodology. Volume price analysis methodology is the core. And what this indicator does, as I've just mentioned, is to really give us an alternative view to look inside that, to peel back the layers of that relationship, if you like, and to access it from this pressure perspective. We've tried to think of another term, but we think pressure is really the term that encapsulates it, the term that describes it in the best possible way. I've got several examples here. We're on a 10-minute time frame, and what I've done for simplicity to really get the message across is look at several examples, just a single chart here. I will be doing other videos where we look at it from a multiple time frame perspective. And can I also add that the indicator can be used across all time frames, from the fastest, if you're a scalping intraday trader, fine. If you're a trend or swing trader, absolutely fine. From an investment perspective, terrific, because what the indicator reveals, as I say, is the pressure of the volume associated with the price move. So without further ado, I think the place to start, first of all, is in the back end. So we just click on the chart, go into indicators here, click on quantum, and we scroll down to the bottom. Here we are, our VRSI indicator, which I've got loaded on the chart. Now, as you'll see, we've got four elements in terms of the appearance. We have four colors, in other words. So we've got a strong bullish sentiment, which is dark cyan, and of course you can change these. These are just the default colors. We have weak bullish sentiment in dark turquoise. We have strong bearish sentiment in orange red, and we've got weak bearish sentiment in salmon. That is the first element, if you like, of the indicator, in that it is color coordinated. So we have the colors transitioning from whether we are seeing strong pressure, pressure falling away, increases in pressure, and decreases in pressure. So that's the first element which I wanted to show you there in the back end, because it just explains the colors. Now, in addition to that, there is also a fulcrum point at which obviously bullish momentum turns into bearish momentum and bearish pressure, and vice versa. So you have a valve, if you like, a fulcrum valve, where you've got strong pressure above, strong pressure below, and you are oscillating around that fulcrum point constantly. And you'll see more examples of this as we move through. But I wanted to start with this one. This is Caterpillar, because it really describes the pressure aspect, if you like, very clearly in an upwards trend. And as you can see on the indicator below, we have strong pressure, and that strong pressure is really denoted in two ways. It's denoted by the height of the bar, but also with the color. So as the stock takes off, we see high bars, and we see the color that's associated with strong bullish momentum. And then gradually, as we move into this phase of mildly bullish, I guess you could call it, or congestion, but with a mildly bullish tone, I guess, is how we describe it. What you are then seeing is the attenuation of that pressure. In other words, we've obviously transitioned to the lighter phase of sentiment, so it's weaker bullish sentiment. But in addition to that, the pressure, as you can see, is falling away. And I thought this was just a really nice example of getting across this concept, this idea of pressure, very effectively with this example. We'll look at a lot of others, and you'll see how the indicator works in all the various aspects, whether we're bullish, whether we're strongly bearish, whether we're in congestion. So I've picked 6 or 7 examples here, which I'll walk you through in this introduction. But I really wanted to convey this sense of pressure, and I think this example does it very well. So we're looking at it from 2 aspects. From the color aspect, are we seeing strongly bullish sentiment, which we are? Nice high bars associated with the price move. And then as we move into the spreads are weakening, the price action is not as strong. It's moving into a mildly bullish, but with a congestion phase, then we see that pressure diminishing. We get a little upswing here on the following day. This is a daily crossover. Into the following day, we get a little bit of an upswing here in terms of upwards pressure, but it really doesn't amount to anything very much. It subsides very quickly, and you can see how quickly it's subsiding. We get a little bit of bearish down here, but essentially we are sliding down to the fulcrum point here, which is the balance between a bullish and bearish, which you'll see much more clearly on other examples. But I wanted to start with this one because, as I say, I think it just really reinforces the concept that I want to get across, which is to do with pressure. Let's go and have a look at another one, which is Honeywell with the ticker HON. So let's just pull that one up. There we go. Again, same time frame, so we're just using one standard time frame here, and to keep this as simple as possible. But I stress what I said in the introduction. We would, of course, be using this in combination with our VPA methodology. This is very much a complementary indicator. It is there to give us this alternative view, this inside view, if you will, of what is going on in the relationship between volume and price and the associated pressure. Now, this is, I've chosen this one as the next one because it does bring into play the whole business of the fulcrum. Once again, we start off at this point with an injection of bullish sentiment, but it really doesn't amount to very much. You can see it dies away quite quickly, and then we move down into a bearish phase, and we start to see some bearish price action developing in our darker red. But then we get some bullish momentum returning, and we go off up to the upside. But again, you can see it doesn't go too far, and we just attenuate down back into a bearish phase again, and then we get an injection of bearish sentiment here as we move through into the next session. In that session, we see a rally. The bullish sentiment is positive. It's rising quite strongly, but it's certainly not as high as this level over here. So there is a degree of bullish sentiment, but it's, again, you can see how quickly we get into this price action here. We go into sideways, it's falling away, the pressure's diminishing, the upwards momentum is diminishing, the colors have changed. We get a little bit of a spike here, but not a lot. And then we start to move down into a bearish phase of price action. And I suppose in some ways, you can think of this in a similar sort of way that we do when we're looking at volume associated with a price move. We want to see rising volume with rising price, and also rising volume with falling price. So in other words, momentum. And in a way, you can apply that sentiment, that approach in a similar way with this indicator, because when you start to see, as we did in the first example, you see rising volume and then you start to see it falling away. Here we're looking at a falling market, and really what we want to see is rising pressure, if you like. So in a way, it's using the principles, the 101 principles of VPA in exactly the same way, but this time with a pressure indicator for our volume price relationship. So here you can see we've got it rising, and we've got a strongly bearish market here, and the pressure on that downwards move is rising and confirmed with the color changes as well. This oscillation between the lighter colors as we pause, and then we go into darker colors again as the pressure builds and increases further. And then right at the end of the day, we get a little diminution there and back into a very mildish bearish bit at the end of the trading day. So I think that's a really good example too. Now let's have a look at another one that I've got here, which I'm sure you're familiar with, which is Apple. Just click on that one. There we go. And this is really what I was talking about just now, if you like. If we start over here on the left-hand side, and it really does give you a very clear indication of this fulcrum line here. This fulcrum line, can I stress, is absolutely key because it illustrates the move from positive to negative, obviously from bullish to bearish. So when we're at this point, when we're starting to cross over, when we see the color changes coming on board, these are really, really good signals. Again, nice example here. We started off with an injection of bullish momentum, but that died very quickly. We went into this phase of price action, classical weakness, just purely from the price action. We've got wicks to the upper body here, so you'll be seeing that obviously as part of VPA. So it's no surprise to see the volume there diminishing, the pressure diminishing there as well. And then we move into this congestion phase. And this is what I really wanted to highlight with this particular example, is that you can see here, just looking at the colors and the very tight bars, absolutely nothing going on here. The bars are not tall, they're very small, they're very short. We get minor changes in color, but very, very close to the central fulcrum of pressure. And it's just a great example of what you can expect to see with this indicator when we are in the congestion phase. And of course, if we were looking at our volume profile straight up and down in terms of volume price analysis methodology, the chances are here the volume would be pretty flat. There wouldn't be much variation. We're not seeing much going on. We're in congestion. And so the two tie one another together. And I hope you can start to see how the two are very much complementary. We then see on the following day, big move lower in the initial, big color change, and a big tall bar to confirm that. We also get further confirmation here. We get a minor reversal here, which changes the color back to a lighter color, but then we get a big injection color here. But then as we move lower, yes, we are seeing obviously a bearish phase, but what we're also seeing is the pressure on that move diminishing. So this is not an extended move. It's a nice move. It's a move you could certainly take advantage of. But what the indicator is giving you, that all-important insight into the pressure that is falling away as the market moves lower. And to go back to what I was talking about earlier, in that the relationship between volume and price, we're well aware of. When the market is falling, we want to see rising volume. If we see falling volume, it's anomalous, and it's telling us that that particular bearish trend is not going to travel very far. Precisely the same analysis can be applied here. This is falling away, so the pressure we can assume is diminishing. We get a little punctuation of it there to give us a bit more help, but nevertheless, it diminishes and diminishes. And as we go into the congestion phase again, exactly as the same as we saw over here, a really nice example of how the indicator works in congestion. It oscillates around the fulcrum point of 0 and really is not going very far at all. So another super example there. Let's move on to another stock I'm sure you're familiar with. We all know and love. Let's go to Amazon. And a similar example in many ways as the previous one. A very brief injection of some bullish sentiment here, but really not going anywhere, and immediately replaced with bearish. But again, it hasn't gone very far, and you can see how the pressure diminishes, and then we just move into this, I guess, what could be considered a mildly bearish trend lower. It's not moving with any momentum at all. It's congestion, but it's congestion with a bearish flavor, if you like. And so all the bars here on the VRSI are just punctuated with minor changes in color, certainly no bullish color changes there at all. We then get the stock the following day, which was yesterday, quite bearish for many of these stocks in the markets. Big injection here to the downside, another injection here. But once again, it really tells us that the pressure on that particular bearish trend, it's not going to go too far. If it were, then we'd see this would be rising, but it isn't. It's actually falling. So that again gives us confirmation, gives us an additional view that we can tie into our volume price analysis methodology in exactly the same way. So it's really a powerful complementary indicator to use with our standard VPA methodology and to give us an alternative view in terms of the pressure. I'm sorry to keep laboring the point on pressure, but really that's what this indicator is about. If you think of it in terms of, well, anything you like, a steam engine, a pressure cooker, anything that has pressure, a pump, this is what it's about. It's all about the pressure, the volume pressure, because this has been the algorithm works on both volume and price, and it's to arrive at this very graphical and in some ways intuitive view of where we are in terms of the pressure accompanied with any particular trend as it develops, or lack of pressure indeed in these phases here. That's Amazon. Now we'll go to another one, which I'm sure, again, needs no introduction. Let's go to Tesla. There we are. And again, really gives us an insight into this is almost entirely bearish throughout the three phases, the 3 days, very bearish throughout. And once again, it just gives us the injection of volume, injection of price. We get the pressure here, but the pressure is not really going too far, but nevertheless, it is continuing, and it continues pretty much all day until we get to the close where we move into this congestion phase where it almost diminishes next to nothing. Very solid downwards move here. We've got lots of pressure injections here. So this has really kept going for much of the day. And you can see here also this attempt to rally here was just nullified completely. This was just because it was a gap down open, this was wiped out completely. There was no bullish sentiment associated with that. It was just if you like, a weakening of the heavily bearish sentiment which arrived on the first candle, and really just to demonstrate that the fact that yes, okay, the stock has reversed a little bit and is trying to rally, but that rally is really pretty weak. There's no sudden injection of bullish momentum here. It's remaining firmly bearish, and indeed confirmed with the next candle, the next bar rather, and on we go. And that really continued. So you can see through here, there's really no change. There's none of this going on. For example, the height of the volume, the height of the pressure bars here is not diminishing. It's staying pretty much the same. It's pretty much level. So it's telling us that this is a bearish sentiment move, and it's really not weakening yet. It's only when we get to the end here and we start to see some bullish sentiment coming into the market that it does indeed start to diminish in any serious way. We get a minor punctuation of some bullish sentiment here, but really nothing to write home about. And we tail off into the fulcrum point once again. So again, really nice example here. I chose this example to really highlight the fact that when we get into a bearish move or a bullish move, we want to see this sort of price action, or indeed better if we can, with rising. And that really confirms, and of course it will be confirmed with the VPA methodology as well. Just a couple more for you. I've got Johnson & Johnson, which is J&J. There we go. Just click on that one. And again, I selected this one to really go back to show you the complete picture, if you will, of how the indicator will typically look where you've got combinations of bullish and bearish momentum. We started off bearish here. It was quite interesting because it was a big gap down again. And that diminishes quite quickly, as you can see. And we move into what I would say is a mildly bullish trend. It's not particularly strong. The height of the bars is not particularly high, but it's recovered. It's certainly recovered off these lows here. And as we cross the fulcrum point here, we move up, as I say, into a mildly bullish light blue and punctuated with dark blue as well. That continued in yesterday's trading, and this is really nice to see, where we see the bars rising, and we've obviously got rising price action, we've got rising pressure, so that's really helping to support it. Then we get up to the upper levels here, and we start to see that dying away. So it's giving us a strong hint, a strong clue that yes, we are starting to see that bullish sentiment that was injected initially in the first hour and a half is now dying away. Tries to come back a little bit here, and it's always interesting to compare in the same way that we do with volume. We look at the height of the pressure bar, and the pressure bar here is certainly nothing like it was here. So again, this brings in again the principles of VPA we can use in exactly the same way in these pressure bars, where we can compare one with another and say, okay, well, that was certainly high pressure over here, but we've got much lower pressure over here. So yes, it is certainly picking up a little bit of bullish momentum here, but perhaps not going as strongly as it was over here. So this is really what this indicator is all about. I'm sorry to keep laboring the point, but pressure, 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 that's what it's about. And then, of course, we get this diminution. It's tailing off. We're starting to move back down to our fulcrum of zero. And then we move off down into a bearish phase of price action and ultimately flatten out into congestion over at the end of that session, yesterday's session. And finally, just to round off just one more, which is Walgreens, which is WBA, which, forgive me, for those of you not in the UK, I always reference to West Bromwich Albion, which is a football club which was relegated from the Premiership last year. But I don't know why it always sticks in my mind, it amuses me. But I'm sure it's for other people elsewhere in the world, it will have absolutely no meaning at all. Sorry about that, for that diversion. Here we are, as I say, this is the last one, and it really brings in a lot of the things that we've talked about in this introductory video. We get this initial, this was 2 days ago, we get an initial injection of some bullish momentum perhaps, but really doesn't follow through. And we'd only have to be looking at that candle to give us just from a price perspective, to tell us that was not particularly strong. It's like looking pretty weak, and really confirmed here as well. So this dies away very, very quickly. And we move into our bearish pressure, which has accelerated the move down here, which is absolutely fine. But then, as we saw before, and we've seen in other examples, that bearish pressure is not only dying in the sense of the pressure bars are falling away in terms of their height, but also they've changed color as well. So we have all these elements that we can bring into play: the height of the bar, the color of the bar, and its relationships to the other bars as well. So it's just a wonderful indicator to use in this way, and always used in combination with VPA. But as I say, I wanted to introduce it in this way to keep things very simple, very clear, just with one chart, so that you grasp the principles of what this indicator is all about. And then we move into the congestion phase, punctuated with little bits of color change there. And right at the end, we get a little bit of a bullish move at the end of the day. And this, again, is another nice example which really shows you that when we have a strongly bullish move taking place, or indeed a strongly bearish move taking place, we don't see much drop off in terms of the height of the bars, the pressure bars. We've got nicely rising pressure here, which is lovely to see. But the average, if you can call it like across here, is continuing. We're not seeing any fall away. So we know this move isn't coming to an end, despite the fact that we see a changing color here to a lighter color. So we're perhaps weakening. What's interesting here is that the height of them is remaining pretty good. So we're not seeing these fall away like that dramatically. We're seeing these remain there. So again, This is another nuanced aspect, if you like. So always pay close attention to the height of the pressure bar because it reveals so much. And if it's remaining here, that's a good, strong signal that perhaps the sentiment, the bullish sentiment, is going to continue, which indeed it does. We get a repeat of that, slightly lower than these, I appreciate, but then we get another injection. And then we get to the top here and we can see we get a long-legged doji, we get an upthrust candle, we get another upthrust candle. And of course, at that point, we do start to see that the pressure bars are declining quite rapidly, as you would expect. And of course, you will associate that with your VPA, and there could have been an injection of volume there, signaling potential weakness, or maybe it was an upthrust with relatively low volume. We would be paying close attention to that. Of course, we would. And then what's interesting finally, and another reason I chose this example, is as we pick up the bullish momentum again, the bullish momentum is there, but it's very weak. And that weakness is signified by the height of the pressure bars. So we've had a very strong move here with a nice strong trend. This is a much weaker trend. It's a trend nevertheless, I accept, but the height of the pressure bars is much lower. The average is much lower than over here. Perhaps that's self-evident to say it, but I think it's worth noting, and it's certainly worth saying, because it just reinforces the various aspects of this indicator and how we use them. And of course, in the next videos, we'll be looking at using them across multiple time frames. And as I said in the introduction, you can use this indicator in any time frame you like, from the very fastest to the very slowest, and it works in exactly the same way. So whether you are an intraday trader, an out-and-out scalper, a swing or trend trader, a longer-term investor looking for the development of those longer-term trends, this will work in precisely the same way, and you simply overlay it on your volume price analysis methodology. So I hope you've enjoyed this introductory video to the volume relative strength indicator, which is all about pressure. And I'm sure I've got that point across to you. I hope so at any rate. So thanks for watching. I'm going to record some multiple time frame variants so you can see this in action as well. And they'll be coming along very soon. So thanks for watching. See you soon, and bye for now.